Hi, my name is Billy Causey. I was cinematographer for a pretty good chunk of Days of Sodom. And, it's interesting to see people react to the film and to talk about it with such positivity. It's even been featured in Bloody Disgusting recently, which is cool. I did not shoot the whole movie. I did probably around two-thirds of it, if I were to think. That mostly the middle portion, the stuff in the clock tower. I shot the teaser where we had the clock tower. I can show you that footage. The original church scene, I don't know if that was ever reshot, but the stuff here, the stuff where he's putting on the makeup in the trailer that everyone liked. Let me reorganize these. Hold on. Because right now they're just organized by the order that they came in. Let's do. Because there's multiple different cards, it's going to be confused. So date created, maybe? Yeah, there we go. Okay. So now we can add all these. We can just in, perhaps, perchance. That's because I also have the timeline selected, isn't it? Yeah. I'm silly. Now we can drag these. I did not handle the color either. But, we did some really cool things with the movie. These are all still in log format. So for those of you who've never worked on a motion picture, when you shoot your footage on a professional camera, it is going to come in and be this kind of flat. It's essentially the equivalent of a negative. If we were to make this like a negative, we would do that, and then we have the orange mask that the negative would have. So it would be like that, and then when you invert it back, it would be blue, and so then you'd have to correct for the blue and warm it up. This is neutralized, and essentially it's not ready for display. There are many ways that you can normalize for display. My favorite though being film print emulation. So let me throw that on. But we have several scenes that people maybe didn't see that we filmed. That I was quite proud of, but just for one reason or another, be it time, be it the performance, be it little continuity errors, did not make it into the film. Here's our gaffer, Stephen Lyons, who's a huge help on this project. Shout out to Stephen. He's probably one of the best in Richmond for gaff and DP work. Also a creative director and a producer. Love this shot of the barn where we have all that smoke and haze. But yeah, so let me just get everything converted for you guys into a viewable display space. So we're going to take our ACES transform, double check my log here. Yep. So I'm going to do input transform. This will be, where is red? Forgive me, I have a little bit of a headache today. Let's do red, and then we'll do out to ACES CCT. Where is ACES CCT? CCT, bada boom. Then we'll come here to our output, and we'll do the opposite. So we'll do ACES CCT, and then we'll do out to ADX10, and then we'll come here and we'll do a lookup table, and we'll pick our film print, and we'll do Kodak 5283. Reference gamut compress. This is essentially a proofing profile for if we were to do a film out. The more traditional way of doing it would be to use the CST, code space transform, ACES AP1, ACES CCT, and then we'll do output to, not gamut, film gamut. We'll do output to Cineon log. The thing with that is we do lose saturation, but whenever you would do film print, you did lose saturation as well per generation. So depending on personal preference, you can maintain the saturation, use ADX10, keep it with an ACES, or you can do the Cineon film output which loses some saturation. But this would be closer to, what we would actually have seen on set. Obviously, the issue with camera sensors too is sometimes your red colors, it'll be as red as it can be to your eye, but the moment you get into a visual display space, it's going to skew a bit more strawberry. So we would have to correct for that and warm things back up. So we can do that either by tinting our image, or we can just take our hue. We'll go to our red channel here. We'll grab this and we'll swing this over to meat. And then we'll even take some of our blue here. Nope. Okay. We'll just grab these two and then we'll swing this over toward here. And that will give us our nice, more orangey reds, less strawberry reds on this. Yeah, for me, the one that I like the most, I think, was the one where he was on the wrong side. Yeah, this one. Cody was on the wrong side for this shot. He was originally supposed to be camera side, but I liked it better with him being on the outside. It let us get the flare right in front and kind of create that like smoke directly in front of us. The focus was a little soft. I was pulling my own focus. It was pitch black in there. I was doing my best, but mistakes happen, accidents happen. Oh, I love this one too. So this one we had too much haze, which is why it wasn't really usable. But I actually wish that we had more, like just drowning the background out. You live in a world of smoke and fog, like hell is taken over kind of look to it. Plus the flares that we got on the lens right here. I mean, this is not even an amazing lens. These are just the Sigma 18-35 EF. It's kind of a basic lens for these situations, but we're gonna treat it as if this was like in a final color pass. Just kind of pull these elements out. I want the bird to be back. And now I soften this. We don't want the mask to follow the whole shot, so we'll just do a track. I'll track it till it gets off screen, and then as it goes off screen, we will fade the mask out using keyframes. Boom, right there. So now we can do, this is corrector number 3. We'll just keyframe this. We'll then set that so that it's at full opacity, and then so it comes here, we'll set that to 0 opacity, and then we'll kind of drag that out so that it's a smoother transition. Just to double check, let's see what this looks like with ADX. See how ADX maintains saturation. All right, Cody, in position, camera speed. Yeah, I like that. We get that like nice high saturation red and orange. Very nice, very aggressive feeling. I love this scene too. This was our character Zia. She's like the Harley Quinn of the film. Also kind of playing the same role as the Seer sister character in the original, and then Tui Tran's character in City of Angels. We tried to, in the end, I was not part of those conversations, so I don't know why it was abandoned in the color for final. But we had tried to, on set when I was shooting, to have every scene sort of have its own unique color palette. The goal was to establish where you are based upon what our primary colors were. And we also always wanted to have Thorn sort of be represented by the color red as much as possible. Red fire, red flames, the red flare, everything just kind of pushing through and representing him. Unfortunately, once again, I was not privy to those conversations. That was lost. This is the original version of the confrontation with Vernon. I believe that was reshot after I had left the project. but the original version that we did, we tried to make it feel like you had this just hard, oppressive light peeking through the rafters. There's our kick, which unfortunately does show up in a few times, but the idea was that we would cut around having the kick show, kicker being like a backlight. You don't really even see it, so we really honestly didn't need it that much. It only shows up on the characters when they're further back. It is showing on the rafters here. It is showing in the background, so perhaps we could have worked around that. Maybe put a little bit of like duvetine in front to hide it physically, but then still let it spill out onto the environment. But we had this hard, harsh sort of kick here because the idea is to make it feel almost diegetic. Like, this is moonlight peeking in through the outside. So probably would cool that off a bit. Maybe even a little more, yeah, like that, so that it feels more moonlight-esque as we have the scene play out. Oh, I love the walk up here. This is
Action.
very, like menacing.
Stop right.
Also fudged focus because my own AC. Indie filmmaking. This one I think worked better because we had the fog there too. Yeah, a little better. Focus snapped and you can see me snap, but it's whatever. This shot wasn't used. I don't think this was used either in the film. This is Brian playing our character. Who's
React versus coming forward. Look down with your eye.
Roy. Roy was his name. God,
You guys can listen.
Roy being, he gets ambushed and attacked by one of Vernon's goons. So this would play out as, well, oh no, takes the flare, throws it down. Oh, now you're just in the moonlight. What are you doing? Oh, at some point, Thorn also gets taken, and then he gets dragged over to confront Vernon. And so this is supposed to be, once again, that same kind of harsh diegetic lighting, moonlight feel that we had for Vernon and his goons.
Camera's on.
Yeah, that one Vernon accidentally turned and someone was in his light, so we had to fix that. So this would be like that. It's a little overexposed too, so bring that down like that. Oh, that's the messed up one anyway.
Was it worth it, Dawn?
This is when Zia takes God, I forgot a female lead in the film's name. Unfortunately, it has been a while since I've worked on this picture. It's been over a year and a half now, so I have forgotten some things that I should remember. Unfortunately, I am a forgetful man. But yeah, this is Zia taking Rachel, right? She's supposed to be the little girl from the first Crow film, and I cannot remember her name to save my life. What is the name of the little girl from the first Crow film? I think Rachel might be the actress's name. Sarah, yes, played by Rochelle Davis. So, yeah, this is Sarah being taken by Zia. God, I should have remembered that. I'm a fake Crow fan. I love this shot though, like the lighting hitting the face paint right here. Boom was in the shot. I do believe we had some audio issues too, and that's another big reason why we didn't use these. That and like I said, continuity issues with the makeup, I think was a big part of it. As you can see, the makeup's not exactly like on model here, even though the lighting is great. Very proud of this work, despite the fact that it didn't get into the movie and it had other issues that kept it from being used. These are some of the the goons getting shot with the shotgun. So we have, Roy blasted on kind of Keystone Cops-esque because they're just like, ah, and then he gets hit and he comes down. They probably, if I remember right, we shot with the intention of me doing like a gradient mask on this just because we were running out of time. Unfortunately, we were fighting the sunlight that night and we weren't even able to get the fight scene with Robert Mukes in because of the sun beating us. Um, yeah, be like
Action.
nice little gradient mask.
Adrian.
Boom, down, hangs away. Well, gets killed. And here's Robert Mukes being all like zombified. That was a whole story element that we had. The anti-crow
3, 2, action. Give us a kick.
gets brought in as like a big demon guy to fight Thorn. A lot of issues just because we were trying to do too much in such a short period of time, unfortunately. Here's our stunt double. Wig could have used a little bit more styling, but once again, we're running out of time.
Action.
Stunt double. I'm Rook being thrown through a wall for a shot. Muke's pulling out the dagger, I think. There's like a broken axe, there's like a dagger, and then yeah, that's the dagger. This is Thorn and Roy after the fight. And then as you can see, the sun actually did rise when we were doing the last shot of the evening. So we ran out of time and we had to truncate the fight because the sun was coming up. This is a sequence where we had like a kidnapped woman who was being tortured by Vernon, which I believe was reshot for the film. I believe all of this was reshot for the film because there's also the informant played by I forget his name, the gentleman who did the real life Peter Griffin. There's Ronnie. He was a producer and a really big help on making this movie happen. Ronnie's the champ. Yeah, there's real life Peter Griffin all beat up and bloodied, being interrogated by Vernon. Is like, why? Zia comes over and she's like, why? This is just a black cloth in someone's living room. Because at this point, the budget was kind of running thin. Thankfully, they did fundraise a bit after this, and the reshoots were able to be done much, much better. Much, much better. I even if we didn't have sound issues that caused, the scene to not be used, there's many issues with like just where we were with the budget and where we were with our planning that it didn't quite live up to the potential that it could have. So the reshoots are very good. This was a macro shot of the eyeball for when she wakes up and is on the table being tortured. That's also been completely redone. Here is I've forgotten his name, God, but our character Francis. No, Francis was the partner who got cut.
I'll be right on your shoulder.
This is, the eye in the sky, cameras everywhere, gentlemen. Being ambushed by one of the cultists in the dark, and he's like, boo. And then we hear the screams.
Always see it.
So this is all canon, so I'm in the wrong color space for this. Hold on. This is all canon, so I'm gonna do a new group. Group 2 will be canon. I actually like this shot a lot. That's our set photographer. I know his first name's Dewey. I forgot his last name. I think his name is actually Deweytron, just like Deweytron, not Dewey Trench. Deweytron was the Power Ranger actor. This is Deweytron. But he was our set photographer, and that's his bike that she's on. Forgive me for being bad with names. I'm bad with a lot of things. So we have our Canon. This is Canon Log 2 Cinema Gamut, and we'll do out to CCT just like we did before. Bada boom. We'll go here to our output transform. We'll do CCT. Then we'll do ADX10. And then we'll do our 55K on our film print proof. And then, like I said, we'll just, because a lot of these, because we had minimal crew, a lot of these were actually exposed for, just maximizing dynamic range, not necessarily exposing for middle gray. We didn't have that luxury. So it's like, how do we not clip, but how do we also still get a healthy negative? I believe there's supposed to be a fire going here too, so that might be why the white balance was a bit warm. Yeah, because she's like lowering.
We'll lower your chin. Let's find an highline.
Yeah.
Like the embers and shit. Oh, there's a take we did with the purple light because I liked the purple light. I thought, if we did purple and then we had the flames come separately as a post effect, so we could do like a flicker. Once again, this would be still with the range, speed, smoothness. Trying to get this.
So now, Nicole, camera speed.
Right on the set.
Just look back, Nicole. Like
We can't see the light. On this angle.
Okay, cool.
So, like, start like looking like
0.01. There's a way
start
to
like
make
you
this
just came on.
more smooth. 0.001.
Looked back.
Okay.
And 0001.
And
Make this be very sensitive.
action.
Oh, the idea though, you get the idea. The idea was to have it flicker.
Right on the set.
Just look back, Nicole.
That would be done as a post effect with it going to purple. So that we get that nice like nighttime contrast. This was a shot of that. This was them leaving with Sarah's body, I believe. Yeah, so it's like ta-da, ta-da.
Let's go.
Here's the mannequins. I have to go back. I haven't watched the film in its entirety in its final form, just because I haven't had the time. But I believe they also reshot a lot of the mannequin stuff too, potentially. That's the bird being stabbed, I think. This is. I did see where the confrontation in the church, though, is still using my footage. So that is a scene that I did do. Yeah.
You have been judged.
And the reason one of our lights is being shot is because there were only 2 outlets in the entire building.
Yeah.
We had no Jenny op, so it was just a hey, we got to make this work somehow, kind of thing. I mean, this is definitely, the whole movie was done. If I were to guess on like 120,000 or less, last time I heard a proper budget number, we were at the $80,000 range, and that was around the time we were shooting this scene.
Been judged. Born gray.
So it is a miracle that this thing was done for the money that it was, and it ended up, as well as it did, all things considered. Oh, this is Thorne being knocked out. I love this punch. This take. That's not the take. It's probably the last take. But there's a punch that looks really convincing. Yep, that's the one. And these two gentlemen here. the ones that are doing the dragging, they always remind me of the twins from the Matrix, like the two albino twins in the Matrix. That was always fun to see. Some of these are heavily underexposed just because we could not get exposure. You know, my lens was not fast enough and I literally ran out of ISO. So you can see the clipping, the floor, the dynamic range floor here where it's clipping on the bottom. Because, you know, once again, like the show must go on, low budget indie filmmaking. That's the confrontation. Hold on, I'm just brightening this up. Give me a second. It's a different angle in the confrontation. I'm not sure what angle was actually used. We shot this from several different potential angles for coverage. We broke our 182 just because we weren't sure, you know, what side we wanted the knife to be on for the knife catch. There's a little bit of disagreement about which would look better, whether it was worth breaking the 180 or not for, but I think it turned out fine. And in the final film, it looks pretty good. When he grabbed, there's one take that's amazing where he grabs and it's just like, not that one either. Vernon's a treasure. God bless Australian actors. Not that one either. Damn. It may even be the first one. The first take, I think, might actually be. Yeah, the first one is the best one. Not that one. The second one, maybe? Not that one. Shit. It's one of the early ones. We had so many takes on this. But if I remember right, the one that was like the best was one of the earlier ones. Maybe I'm wrong, misremembering. It has been long enough. I like the extension on the arm though. That's a much better extension. Vernon at his congregation. Here he is walking with the knife, and it's like da-da-da. The knife is there. The knife is revealed. Vernon removes his mask. It's a very fun film. The church doors. Oh, this scene was quite a this shot was quite a difficult thing to do because of where we had to put the lights because we couldn't move them since we didn't have, you know, outlets or extension cables. You have the shadows on the doorway, and there are several times, I believe, even in the finished thing, because there's not a shot where you don't see me, but like, you know, there's my shadow right there. And so as the door opens, we just replace my shadow with Cody's shadow as I back up. I you know, the idea that we had was like, well, maybe people won't know that that's actually the camera operator and DP's shadow, they'll think that's part of the congregation, I think was the way we just kind of accepted that this is what, you know, we had, and there was no real alternative for it. Oh, I love this walk-up shot. Hold on. It's like so fucking pissed off looking. Just looks at them and is like, yeah, I get you. God, that whole idea of the cult was creepy. We couldn't turn these lights off either, which is another problem. Because if we did, then you know, the candle lights were wall plugged in and part of the decor of the actual church. And then these lights in these alcoves were also tied to that. So if we cut the power to the alcove lights, we lost the wall lights as well, the wall candles. And so I was always very frustrated with that. Here's the flashbacks when Thorne finds Sarah. I don't know if they reshot this. I'll have to go back and check. This is another one where we were running out of time. It was very rushed for what it is. I think they probably used this version of the murder. The murder, you know, we had like amazing performances from Vernon on the murder here.
Camera speed.
About what he saw. It was about what he said.
And so, once again, we will correct our strawberry here and make it more actual red.
Camera speed.
That's just camera sensors and display spaces. There's always issues. Always issues. Oh yeah, this is a creepy shot too. It's like kicking, I think,
Yeah, a little bit more.
while she's down.
The camera.
Then we had the creepy gentleman who's out on the street, just like the first thing that she sees. Then we have our friends of the crew. I believe he was working as like a PA assistant and also maybe acting. I forget what all he did, or the gentleman's name. I believe that's Ronnie. It looks like Ronnie, who's a producer who is helping us, communicate with the actor and get that shot. Our creepy trio of murderers show up. They always reminded me of Cenobites. There's something about them that feels very like Cenobite-esque with how they moved. Very creepy. Oh yeah, the Jason Voorhees moment. Cody's, big into horror films. He's done a Friday the 13th picture, so he wanted to have this moment that feels like Jason, entering a room. Once again, a little bit too much strawberryness to it. So we want to clean that up and make that so that it's more of a red. And then we'd probably pull the saturation so we're not out of gamut. It's more like that.
That's one of like.
The flashbacks to them when they're like in the good old days, before
It helps it get in.
We were originally going to do this with Prism Blur on it, and then we were going to do like heavy chromatic aberration, so like that, and then we'd come in, we'd turn the blur strength down, and then we were going to do it as black and white as well. So I'd have probably more like this. I'd need to reposition the aberration so you can see their face. Let me actually flip that though, so it's like that. There we go. See how you knew it was a flashback. Running down the alleyway. I believe a lot of this stuff was redone. Probably a couple shots of it may have been used in the film, but I'm pretty sure a lot of this was redone just because we were never truly happy with the stuff here. This is Thorne meeting with Sarah. With his wife, his dead wife. And he's talking about how vulnerable he is, and this is the like, oh, it'll be fine. I love this shot. Feels very like romance movie-esque. Here she is interacting with him in the loft. In the loft again. Very high dynamic range. We didn't have gels to put on the windows, so we really couldn't deal with that. The idea is just a lot of post work would have been done to clean it up. So this is whenever our buddy here gets murdered.
Okay.
The place that we used for this unfortunately went out of business. It was a really cool location. They the stairwell. It's a little out of gamut. That happens sometimes with the color red on cameras. So could maybe clean it up by using reference gamut compress. It's still out of gamut mostly, but that's fine. Yeah, we had the dead body here, so it's like you can see the dead body being included. I thought that was a cool idea. Not sure if that was still used. I'll have to go back and check. I love the hallway though. Literally, I'm just on like a little cart being pushed by Ronnie, I think, for this. Shortly after we got this shot, I invented something I call my happy dance. um,
Camera speed.
Once again, more horror movie influence, more like sleepiness, just very cool shit. Oh, I'd love the like. Sure, we lose the ability to
Never get any space.
faster minimum focus distance very quickly, but yeah, here he is leaving the office. And it's like dun, 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 just push him, that kind of thing. Here he is. Whenever the eyeballs come up and it freaks him out. Boom. Ah! We were supposed to have like an actual real crow eyeball, but we could not get that in time. So unfortunately, that was not used for this version of things.
All right, so go ahead and drop the phone.
I like
Action.
he's watching. He's got eyes all over the city, but then he's also watching Night of the Living Dead over here. They're coming to get you, Barbara. Fun use of public domain content. Here's the actual "they're coming to get you, Barbara" scene too. Like we have to go back and check again too, but like we worked really hard to get that actually in the scene timed.
All right, camera
Turn
speed.
off at all?
Nope. That was it.
My only regret is the building would not let us have haze. I think having a little bit of haze here
This is Carl.
would have helped. Carl is his character's name. That's it. Francis is the other guy. This is actually not too far from my house that I used to have in Maryland before I moved to Colorado, Colorado. So a fun little embarrassing story about this shoot date is I actually had my pants rip. That's a fun little fact I'll throw out there. We were shooting in a graveyard. I mean, thankfully I didn't moon anybody or anything. But we were shooting in a graveyard, which I'll show the graveyard in a moment. We were shooting in a graveyard, and I had these cheap shorts that I had bought for my trip to Aruba. And unfortunately for me, these shorts, God, I love this.
We are rolling.
I love this shot so much. It's probably my favorite shot of the movie.
And no sound?
That's it.
I mean, not a shot. You know, it's like the contrast of like the grittiness in the urban environments with like the natural beauty that was supposed to be pushed to be more of like a near monochrome sunset kind of vibe. So probably like this is what, you know, with our original talking points, it's just not close to what the look would have been. But still, you get that natural beauty with everything on top of the urban grittiness. So
Camera speed.
a little too saturated, so pull saturation down. Yeah, this is like whenever Thorne is being consoled and convinced to do what is necessary. You know, the final like get off your ass and get revenge kind of pep talk that Sarah was giving him. Oh, here's the graveyard. This is the graveyard that my pants ripped. It's embarrassing to talk about, but it's also kind of funny. when you actually think about it. And thankfully, my wife was nearby and could run and bring me fresh, unripped pants. But that happened. That did happen. Um, so, well, these need to be shot matched. They're all over the place because the clouds kept changing. The church. I like this shot a lot. Though we kept having issues with background talent, sort of voguing the camera. I think this is a clean take, but unfortunately, like, right here, this young woman, she spikes the camera, and it's like, no, no, please, no, don't look at the camera. I believe she's a teenager, but it's just a thing of like, having to do multiple takes because we just kept, and it's not just her. There were other people too. Like, just people kept looking at the camera. You have background talent who aren't professional actors. They're just people who are really excited about being in the movie, and that happens sometimes. So this one here, we were really high ISO on this one. So hold on, let me do a cleanup on it. We'll do 2 frames, like 20%. See how that does. Yeah, that mostly cleaned it up. It did just pop a little bit of sharpness back from the motion, from the noise reduction. But this is, that's Francis. That's a character who got cut, I think. I'll have to go back and watch the movie, in its entirety, but I think Francis was eventually cut. He was Roy's new partner, like new young guy on the block. Just due to budget and time constraints, and the fact that like this gentleman is an actor who is, I believe, professional in Malaysia or something like that. It was difficult to get his schedule to align. It was difficult to get his availability. It was difficult to, prep him for things because he was always all over the place. And then we were also dealing with, a dwindling budget. And so it's like, there were talks even whenever I was still in the project of like, oh, what do we do? Do we cut Francis? Yeah, but we've recorded so much of his content. He's got this, like presence to him. What do we do? But I do believe that they may have cut Francis from the final film. I'll have to go back and check. That right there is what is her name? She was a PA throughout most of the film. Also has horses that we were going to use at one point for a scene. There was a plan to do a scene where we're on the DC Metro, and we're Thorne is like, sitting down, it's going through the tunnel, and we're in the empty car in the metro, and just and then we pass through the shadow and we get to the other side, and then boom, there's the Skull Cowboy there. And now you're on a train that's like in, the wilderness, and you see this open field, and you have the horse from the comics, getting caught in the barbed wire. Same with like, Skull Cowboy, who's like now the train conductor, and he comes over and asks for the ticket on the train, and Thorne doesn't have a ticket, and then he wakes up in the real world. That was a cool moment that I wish we could have done. Oh, here's from the trailer. This was, I think, everybody's first proper introduction to the film. This heavy involvement from Stephen Lyons and what made this scene in this trailer work out really well. As much as I wish I could claim full credit, Stephen was my gaffer. Most of the amazing stuff, in this film, in my opinion, that I did, was Stephen as my gaffer. I feel like a DP and a gaffer have to build a really good rapport and to kind of understand, have a gaffer that understands what you're going for and can problem solve too is, you know, invaluable. I don't have to sit and nitpick. I don't have to draw up every single lighting setup. We can discuss something and it's just, oh, within seconds, I got it. I got you. I know what you want. Just amazing guy, amazing cinematographer in his own right. I would actually argue he's a better cinematographer than me. Based out of Richmond.
Camera speed.
He got me that museum project I did where we did all the historical reenactments and did the
Camera speed.
like interactive exhibit, talking portraits, and then like the 3D flyby. I did a whole mixing light video talking about all that. Look out mixinglight.com. So this was our comp backplate for the CGI bird. We did several different versions of him cutting his wrist. It didn't quite look right in a lot of them until finally we settled on like just having the blood drip in front of the camera. That take didn't look good. This is the one we used in the trailer. This is a good one because it just drip, drip, drip. Looks very gooey and creepy and uncomfortable. So fun fact, the narc on the mirror here, for some reason the paint turned orange whenever we had put it on. And so the makeup crew, because it's supposed to be like fake blood paint, it turned orange, and so the makeup crew came in, and you see these smudged areas here. That's actually like some of the makeup and lipstick trying to add something that's red that's there. Thankfully for the trailer, it was an easy cleanup. We just took the yellow channel here and we swung it more toward red, and we got that blood look back for the trailer, for the teaser. Love when he walks up and you see his face. It's such a cool moment. I wish, because like this was us early on in production blowing a bunch of the budget on seeing what we could do. I wish that we had the money to spend, on every scene like we did on this one, so that we could have made the movie like top notch, just all out on it. Though I'm impressed, the gentleman who came in after me on the film, once again, I'm bad with names. I do not remember his name off the top of my head. I believe he's European in origin. All of his stuff, especially the dancing in the moonlight scene, like that's freaking gorgeous. Just amazing work. I kind of get jealous sometimes with some of his shots being like, damn, I wish that was mine. And I shot more than this. This is just the stuff that I have backups of. I also filmed the scenes with Johnny Alonso and, his, and then there was one, which is a fun moment too. I actually climbed up on a frozen rooftop to get that shot. It was like icy and cold as shit and slippery. And I remember, at one point, Jason Farrell, who's the writer or co-writer, excuse me, Cody rewrote the script so many times you could argue that, it doesn't resemble the original one that they had written together. That's the nature of filmmaking. You have to keep adapting to fit your budget. Because unfortunately the script that they wrote, as brilliant as it was in its original format, we would not have been able to shoot. That was like a $5 to $10 million movie, not a $100,000 movie. But it is what it is. The rooftop, though, was slippery, and I remember Jason came up to check on me when I'm up there, and he almost slipped off the damn roof. Thankfully we had safety crew. We had like little cushion bags that, if he had fallen off, he would have been on the cushion bag and been all right, like the fall bags. But it was still like, slippery. We did what we could to make the set safe. Running out of things to talk about. I feel like there's so much I should say and want to say, but I'm not entirely sure. I'm having to pick my brain to remember everything. For those of you who are interested, I live in Colorado now. I'm Still doing color and cinematography work. If you would love to have me work on a project, please hit me up. Can fly anywhere in the world if you want. Dealt with some health issues while working on the film. I'm doing better now. Dealt with some mental health issues due to personal life and being let go from 2 different jobs while we were making a movie. That's a thing I could talk about. Now I'm in Colorado full-time freelance, and so we're trying to make that work and see how that goes. Yeah, personal gear. I run Reds. I'm interested in potentially getting Blackmagic 12K at some point. I keep eyeing how cheap that they are right now because the 12K is on sale today, and the sale goes off today. So I'm wanting to stop myself from buying a Ursa 12K, but I'm running 2 Red Epic 6Ks, the Dragon sensor models. I've got iron glass lenses. I've got Sigma lenses. A couple of lights, mostly the lights that we used on the film, which are the Aperture and Amaran's 300 watts. The 300s are RGB, and then I got 150s, which are just bicolor. Those are the Amarans. Yeah, don't have a lot of movement gear still. Don't have a Steadicam, don't have a gimbal, don't have a jib. Although they can be rented. They're pretty cheap to rent, especially if you use lens rentals. Lens rentals is amazing. I would recommend them for anybody. You can get shipment within, a couple days of whenever you place the order. You gets brought in boxes that, the return boxes are there and prepped to go. You just drop it back in, send it to the post office, FedEx, boom, boom, boom. It's on its way and you're fine. It's a wonderful service. We use them with the American Village project, the historical reenactment project, which was great, 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 great company, great rental, very fun. Yeah, no, Crow so far is the only like dark and spooky movie I've done. I recently shot a music video that, I got to use a lot of the things I learned about how to deal with haze and how to deal with like spooky lighting. I'll just go ahead and pop over to that here. It's a fan-made music video for the band Health. Long, complicated story about what led to this music video being completed, but yeah, using haze, using the red, dark, spooky lighting. This big prop, these LEDs almost laid out like a blood eagle. Like visually, it's supposed to kind of feel like a blood eagle. And it's representing social media and social media addiction and the separation of our protagonist here between like the real world and the world in her head. And then we end up in like the idealized self-realization, self-actualization, which is this open field here. And then, the question is, back in. And so we end with, the apparent being sucked back into the machine. But then on the final lyric, we show the open field again, sort of hinting that like maybe salvation from this addiction, this social media capture is entirely possible. Completely no budget. Like we ate all the costs, the location, everything ourselves. It's chromatic adaptation, so I want that. Where is... Did I not use film emulation? I thought I used film emulation on this somewhere. Because this looks like the sensor noise. So what's going on? Timeline level? It's probably timeline. It is timeline level. Okay, Filmbox Pro. I love Filmbox, but it eats performance, and so that's why I want to turn it off so that I can just get better performance. So this is art collective that I am collaborating with frequently. This is the Terrible Wise here in Denver. You should check out their show. It's a very good art collective. We just had a show called Wishing Well that ended recently. We had live music, live punk and rock and alternative, live poetry reads, live Latin dancing demonstrations, even a bit of burlesque going on. It was a fun time. Looking for a more permanent venue. We've changed venues a few times. I definitely recommend you do so. So I think that's it for me. This is Billy Causey, cinematographer on a decent chunk of Days of Sodom, the Crow fan film. And hope you have a wonderful evening and enjoy the movie.